The biggest problem with Partygate and with all the shenanigans of Boris is that Boris sets the standard for the way we live as we edge into a serious financial hole. We're moving into this dark cave of insecurity. And, various people are saying, well, poverty can lead to crime. I don't think poverty does necessarily lead to crime. But a lack of money certainly does lead to dodgy behaviour. And it certainly does make people question their standards. But when we look at number 10, we see, unfortunately, standards are extremely loose. And how is that going to play out? It's certainly going to be very difficult for Boris to stand up and say, I want you all to be honest, because he blatantly is not. He's run the country rather like he runs his private life. So whatever he needs to say to one person so that he can get away with another. There's 126 criminal offences committed in his own house, in his own office. 126. And he is one of the people he's one of the guilty who's committed one of these offences. He's accepted that guilt, he's accepted the fine, as has his wife. They've gone off to the local store, paid the fine, cash and carry. It's shocking, really. And neither of them thought about resigning, nor did the man next door, Rishi Sunak. It's small fry. The amount they have to pay is insignificant. Some people in government have gone so far as to suggest that this is like a parking fine. And yet, people who were following the rules were unable to attend their loved ones' funerals, were unable to meet their loved ones before they died, were following the rules. And we can be Jesuitical about it as well and say, absolutely, Keir Starmer equally followed the rules. No, Keir Starmer was twisting those rules almost as much as Boris. I think in the end, Keir Starmer will be proven to have acted correctly, as Boris was proven to have acted incorrectly. And we could say that the problem was that the rules were extraordinarily vague, woolly, and complex. That's Boris's fault. And that's what leads to this Jesuitical approach. It's not something to commend itself. And what is the example all sides of our political life have given, both Boris and Keir Starmer, and of course Nicola Sturgeon up in Scotland, that the rules are there to be questioned and played with and tinkered with. That's been going on for centuries. It's called law, and it's done by lawyers, by barristers and so on, and it's done well. And now we're saying that everybody can do this. We're also saying, in the case of Boris, that deceit pays. Not a good image for our country. So to go down to the Boris details, he said there were no parties. He said if there were parties, the rules were followed. There were 12 parties. We know 8 of them were in breach of the regulations. And Boris was at least one of those. The regulations were complex and confusing and effectively ignored in the place where they were drafted and delivered. That is the reality. So what do we draw from that? Arrogance, confidence, the fact that the people who drafted the laws are too big to obey them. We're now beyond Partygate. We are possibly massively bored by Partygate, and Boris has factored this in. Whatever Sue Gray reveals in her report probably cannot be any more than we've already experienced. It's something to be shrugged off. But we can't shrug off the fact that Boris and our politicians have changed the moral landscape. It is now right to quibble and question the laws. It is also acceptable to lie, to deceive. And so the two positions that Boris has adopted, I think there's only two positions. Actually, there might be a third position. But the two big positions are, number one, that delay and deny, and number two, sling the mud in the other direction. The mudslinging was against Sir Keir Starmer. I think Sir Keir Starmer's position is probably solid enough to withstand that. And if not, he's a lawyer. He knows how to deal with that sort of mudslinging. I don't think he should have been drinking beer. I don't think he should have been having a curry. That's my opinion. But equally, I don't think Boris should have been having a birthday cake in the cabinet room. I think that I think the idea that Carrie should have invaded the cabinet room is astonishing in and of itself. What lesson do we draw when we see our Prime Minister lying? We have to, if we want to say that's okay, we have to say that we've entered the world of fiction and of drama, where deceit is the basic means of communication. If we're telling a story, if we are writing a new Lord of the Rings or a new Narnia series, we are basically dealing in deceit. That's what storytellers do. And we applaud them. We applaud them for their deceit. So we should be standing up and clapping Boris for his deceit. We might go further and say, actually, we're in a sort of fantasy world. So Boris is the new Mickey Mouse. Fine. Maybe we could go even further and we say, actually, I like being told a story by Boris. It's like it's like the friendly uncle who comes and sits on the bed and tells you bedtime stories. Well, that's Boris. We don't get the truth from Boris. We get a very nice story. But that doesn't augur well for the future of public life. Billy Bunter was surely something of the past. Boris can't wheel out Billy Bunter again. Winnie the Pooh, something of the past. And yet Boris has made those two characters his own. And somehow he's embraced that winsomeness and made that work. But he's also, in so doing, destroyed the credibility in public life, and we need to work really hard to put back the honour and the honesty into public life. If we defend Boris's behaviour, we are endorsing a lack of integrity and a lack of honour at the highest level of our society. And we could, but there is a third point. I did think there was a third point. And the third point is, if we know this is how our Prime Minister behaves, why is it that no one in Downing Street has patrolled Boris? No one in Downing Street protects Boris. No one. Instead, they're all in it together, like pigs in a trough. It's Barnard Castle all over. No one thought that Dominic Cummings was telling the truth. No one, surely no one thought Dominic Cummings was telling the truth when he sat in the Rose Garden and said what he did and how he went off for an eyesight test. Surely nobody thought that was credible. And yet we took it on the chin. Why? Because that is the standard of behaviour which has come from the top, and it's spiralled outward like the water gushing down the drain or flushing down the loo, and it's going to carry us all with it. I'm not saying we have to get Boris out. I'm saying we have to reform our public life. And we have to rehabilitate the concept of honesty, integrity, and honour. And I think I've been saying this for a long time.